Shifting future, shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. It's Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, August 19th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today. Big economic news. The national debt is officially past $40 trillion. What do you even say at this point? The government are criminals. We have no future. We have no economic future here. We'll go over the implications, all the different interests, the implications, how much debt is on each American citizen's head. It's just beyond the pale. They should all be thrown in jail for fraud and go down the list of crimes they've committed against us here now. Otherworldly, on day 172 of Iran war, we'll take a look at the ins and outs. They're developing. We're going to take a deep dive today. I went back and read it last night. We need to take a deep dive into this national security, science, and technology strategy. It is technocracy. And so we're going to take a harder look at that U.S. national security strategy, science and technology 2026. We're going to take a look at that. We mentioned it briefly yesterday, actually. We're going to take a deeper dive into it today. It's only 24 pages. I'm not going to read every line, but we're going to take a look at the key sections there, because that is what our economy is built around here: is national security, scientific dictatorship, technocracy, the greater North America. So we do need to go back, and we are going to go back today and take a harder look at that. What else do we got? And a bunch of other economic news. The big news, of course, the 40 trillion in official national debt. All the fallout from that. We have a bunch of geopolitical news. Strait of Hormuz, a little bit of transit through there, not a lot. We're going to take a look at that. The fallout of Aardvark land attacking Syria yesterday. We're going to take a look at that. The ongoing ethnic cleansing, demolition, genocide campaign in Lebanon. We're going to take a look at the ongoing genocide in Gaza, the ethnic cleansing, genocide in the occupied West Bank. And then trigger warning. Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Aardvark land, has come out again criticizing the ultra-Zionist settlers' violence in the occupied West Bank. I know, shocking. We'll take a look at all of that and much more on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Ben Gvir bragging on the internet. They're going to set up viewing booths for the public hangings of Palestinians there in Aardvark land. I swear they have think tank meetings and sit around. What's the next most evil thing we can do? We're going to go ahead and do that because we have impunity. We're above the law because Aardvark. We're going to take a look at that and much more of Aardvark evil going on. It just doesn't ever seem to end. Let's get to this day in history. And we'll get all the news for you today. On this day of August 19th, we go back to the year 1263. King James I of Aragon censors Aardvark writings. I should have kept that trend going. We're coming to learn here now. On this day, 1665, this is a curious one. The world's most mysterious book, a codex known as the Voynich, Voynich, Voynich manuscript and written in an unknown script. is sent by the rector of Charles University in Prague to a Jesuit scholar, big mistake right there, now in Yale University library and still undeciphered, the Voynich manuscript. I don't know. Yeah, AI will figure it out and then they'll just destroy it, I'm sure. On this day, 1692, Salem witch trials, 5 more people, George Jacob Sr., Martha Carrier, George Burroughs, John Proctor, and John Willard are hanged after being convicted of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts Bay Colony. Hey, they're doing dark occult all in front of our face, all over the place, doing sorcery, casting spells, doing witchcraft. Just saying, it happened once in the Salem witch trials and other witch trials. Maybe think about bringing it back. Just saying. Even though evidence has come forth, many of the accused witches during the 1600s were not actually practicing dark occult magic. 1782, on this day, Battle of Blue Licks. We saw the Battle of Blue Licks. 50 loyalists and 300 indigenous warriors ambush and rout 182 Kentucky militiamen, including Daniel Boone, in Kentucky County, Virginia, in one of the last battles of the American Revolutionary War. On this day, 1839, I'm horrible at my French pronunciation, especially of last names. Anyhow, pardon me for that. On this day, 1839, Louis de Georges' photographic process with complete working instructions is published free to the world in Paris as a gift from the French government about the first process about how to take photographs the first time they're given free to the world. On this day, 1848, gold discovery in California. The New York Herald is the first major Eastern newspaper in America to report the discovery of gold in California on this day, 1848. 1895, on this day, American frontier murderer and outlaw John Wesley Hardin is shot and killed by John Selman Sr. in a saloon in El Paso, Texas. On this day, 1897, we saw the first electric taxi driven in London, England. On this day, 1960, CIA pilot convicted of spying. American CIA pilot Francis Gary Powers is convicted of spying by the USSR U-2 incident and sentenced to 3 years in prison plus 7 years in a labor camp. He served 17 months before being exchanged for a captured Soviet KGB spy. On this day, 1989, we saw the first crack in the Iron Curtain as Hungary opens its borders to Austria for a pan-European picnic for a few hours. On this day in 2010, we saw the end of the Iraq invasion. Iraqi Operation Freedom winds down as the last of the U.S. brigade combat teams cross the border into Kuwait. I guess we didn't, well, it wound down kind of, sort of. I guess we say wind down, going into Kuwait. All right, on this day in our civil liberties history, well, I guess we've been at war with Iran since 1953. On this day in our civil liberties history, 1953, CIA engineered coup overthrows government in Iran. And probably the most famous, at least secret, covert action in its history, The CIA on this day engineered a coup that overthrew the legitimate government of Iran. Although of little interest to the American public at the time, the coup aroused deep hostilities toward the United States that became a factor in anti-American feelings amongst Iranians, as evidenced by the 1979 hostage crisis, when Iranian militants seized and held hostage 52 Americans. From a civil liberties standpoint, the coup was only one of many covert actions by the CIA, many of which violated the principles of American democracy, that were conducted with essentially no meaningful congressional oversight. The CIA gained official approval to conduct covert operations on December 17, 1947, and June 18, 1948. And on June 20th, 1949, Congress made the agency's budget a secret. The full extent of secret CIA activities did not become widely known until the investigations by the Senate Church Committee and the House Pike Committee in 1975. There's a bunch of terrorists that can't have nuclear weapons. Forget about the fact we overthrew their government in 1953. On this day in 1971, Nixon White House requests bogus FBI investigation of Daniel Schorr. The Richard Nixon White House ordered the FBI investigation of reporter Daniel Schorr on this day. When it was revealed, it claimed that Schorr was being considered for an administration job. The explanation was completely false, and only a few people believed it. In fact, Nixon ordered the investigation because of his anger at Schorr for his reporting on his administration's abuses of the American people. On this day in 2004 in our civil liberties history, then Senator Ted Kennedy caught by no-fly list. One of the programs developed by the administration of George W. Bush was a no-fly list of suspected terrorists who were barred from flying on domestic airlines. Eventually, there were several different watch lists of people prohibited from flying. On this day, it was revealed that U.S. Senator Ted Kennedy had been blocked from flying because his name matched a similar name on the no-fly list. The fact that no one of the most prominent U.S. senators, the fact that one of the most prominent U.S. senators would be swept up by the government's no-fly list policy dramatized the inability of such lists to focus on specific individuals about whom there is some legitimate evidence about their involvement in possible terrorist activities. Here's a flashback to 2020, posted by the Hotspot. Remember when Trump gave Bibi Netanyahu the key to the White House? 2020 flashback. We should have, there were signs. There were signs, some would say.
Love that. This was a special token of affection given by myself and the First Lady to Prime Minister and the First Lady of Israel. And it's a key. We call it a key to the White House, and it's a key to our country and to our hearts. And you've been an amazing leader for a long period of time. And this is in many respects the big day, because this is something that's very special. And we just left UAE and Bahrain. We're going to meet outside in a ceremony. And it's just a very important event, and it's an honor to have you with us, baby. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have said, and this is true, that you have the key to the hearts of the people of Israel because of all the great things you've done.
I wish he'd unlock some great things for America. America first. What happened to that? The builder-in-chief, the White House posts today, he's bragging about the new helicopter pad at the White House. We're struggling to put groceries on the dinner table. Disconnected Trump. Here he is earlier today. Disconnected from Main Street.
Incredible from the air and from every place else. And again, this is going to be used for a lot of different celebrations, a lot of different big meetings where, as an example, President Xi is coming in a little while.
Yeah, F you and entire government and all governments. Just disgusting creatures, man. Disgusting criminals. Trump joins construction and military leaders in signing the bottom of the helipad's Granite Eagle. AIPAC openly celebrates Florida primary wins as pro-aardvark land candidates advance to November. The American Aardvark Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, is celebrating a major display of its political influence following yesterday's Florida primaries, claiming victory for 21 candidates backed and described as pro-aardvark. Here's their press release. Truly disgusting. AIPAC congratulates pro-aardvark primary winners. Iranian parliamentary speaker and chief negotiator Ghalibaf, this dude, that dude, right? He said, in the new regional system, foreign powers' interference in interstate equations is rapidly receding. America is searching for an honorable exit from the region, and the Zionist entity's Greater Aardvark Land project has become mere pipe dreams. Big talk, but it looks like they're taking a bunch of land, and the Greater Aardvark Land project is continuing as planned there, Mr. Ghalibaf. Iran breaks ground on a world's largest solar plant to tackle energy deficit. So there's a big site to bomb. We know Trump hates the windmills, right? And so a lot of targets there because for the environment, of course. Bomb the hell out of their Iran's new solar green alternative energy facility there. Iran is set to begin construction. Oh, they haven't even constructed it. As soon as they do, we need to blow it up, right? Sure, for the environment. Iran is set to begin construction on a 5,000 megawatt solar power plant in Isfahan province, backed by a $2.8 billion privately financed development that officials say will be the largest solar facility anywhere in the world. Well, until we bomb it. So good luck with that, Iran. It will be an eye for an eye plus one. Iranian journalist on Press TV warning that the regional security landscape has crossed a critical threshold.
About it, and we call it
This
deterrence.
That dude, I'll read you the readout here. He said, time and again, recently, we are seeing from Iranian officials that they are saying if the U.S. aggression continues on Iran, Iran's retaliation and response will be eye for an eye. But in my definition, it will be eye for an eye plus one. So it shows that anything directly and indirectly facilitating or participating in U.S. aggression on Iran, they will pay the price. They're talking big out of Iran. Iran sees the full restart of the war as inevitable and is preparing to directly attack U.S. military targets all over Europe as part of its escalation plan. As soon as Iran's 3 to 4 weeks ultimatum to meet all of its demands runs out, and Trump escalates, with Iran's IRGC having assessed strikes on U.S. assets in Bulgaria, Cyprus, and more, the Financial Times reports. And 2 senior Iranian officials confirm. An Iranian senior official says, should the U.S. go too far, Iran will defend itself at any price, go beyond the region, and hit Europe too, and no limits will be placed on Iran's response, adding a very big mistake such as hitting our infrastructure could make the war go beyond the region and reach Europe. Targets include Bulgaria's Bezmir Air Base in southeastern Europe and RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus. The officials directly reference Iran's attack last month on the U.S. base in Jordan, which killed 3 U.S. service members, as, quote, the most precise long-range attack Iran has carried out, demonstrating its capabilities to hit targets over longer distances. This was also a message to Europe. It can receive missiles, so it should know where it should stand in this war. Iran's IRGC has also separately examined attacks attacking subsea fiber optic internet cables in the Strait of Hormuz in the event of any escalation. And as the deadline runs out, as many within Iran increasingly see a resumption of the war as a matter of when, not if. This is out of the Hormuz letter. They say Iran says the UAE is carrying out Scott Besset's orders for economic warfare against Iran, calling on UAE's missile attribution fake news, and that the official start of Besset's operation following the announcement last week of applying measures that have never been seen in history against Iran, per Morandi and one senior Iranian source familiar with the matter. Morandi, that's this Iranian professor, all of the media, right? Morandi directly warns the UAE will lose very badly in warfare against Iran. The meme wars are cranking up. It's all fun and games. People are going to starve to death. They already are because of this. People are dying over it, but it's hilarious. So here's the meme games going on. Remember, Trump posted this yesterday, new U.S. territory, Strait of Hormuz. And then Iran's, one of Iran's embassy accounts, new territory of Islamic Republic of Iran. Hey, I'm in California. United States of America except California. Huh? Yeah. That's where we're at. The meme wars. Kind of a meme. I guess you could call this a meme. Countering Trump's post claiming Strait of Hormuz is U.S. territory yesterday. Iran's Ghalibaf posts a photo of himself with a map of the Strait of Hormuz behind him. Part of the information warfare campaign being carried out by both sides here now. By both sides. All right. A new guy, maybe, I think we've seen this guy maybe a couple times, but he's out there talking a mess today. Out of Iran, Iranian General Mohammad Reza Naqvi. Anyway, this dude, I'll read you the excerpts because you don't want to hear this guy, do you? He said, Strait of Hormuz will never close, will never lose its importance. This is where oil and gas are produced. The Persian Gulf itself is a center of oil and gas production. You can't pull the oil wells out of the ground and move them somewhere else. At most, instead of loading it onto ships, they can put it through pipelines and take it somewhere else, but those pipelines are still valuable, are still vulnerable. They can still be struck and damaged. It's not as though they can simply solve the problem that way. Building that infrastructure would also take years, and many products aren't easily transferable at all. Gas, for example, requires complex and expensive processing and infrastructure. So it's not as though they can make themselves independent of this region. He had more to say. He went on to say, we have to achieve deterrence. It is not good for us if someone can decide to attack Iran, then when they fail, leave, reorganize, and come back again 6 months later. We have to preserve our security, whether that security is achieved through diplomacy or through war. We have to achieve it. That is the fundamental point. Neither diplomacy nor war has intrinsic value in itself. They are both tools and methods. Our deterrence have to be restored. How is our deterrence restored? By making it clear that aggression against Iran has a cost. If America pays the cost through diplomacy, if it comes and complies with the demands Iran has put forth through diplomacy, pays compensation, complies through diplomacy, pays compensation, and accepts that, in any case, it has a high price to pay, then it won't simply come back and try again. This can restore our deterrence. A couple more out of them. Continuing, he says, they announced at least 12 different objectives. For example, they said, we're going to seize Karag Island. They began an extreme heavy bombardment, hundreds of strikes, but they couldn't even kill a single person there. Then they said, we're going to advance into Iranian territory. They couldn't do that. Then they said, we're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to launch Operation Freedom. Every 5 or 6 days, they announced something new, and they failed at every one of them. America can't talk about any success whatsoever. What's this guy? Trump told me we've won the war 173 times now. I don't know what this guy's talking about. Here he is. This dude, right? I can't believe what he's even saying here. Shocking. Last segment of this interview, he said the United States government announced 2 main objectives in the war: to overthrow Iran's political system and partition Iran. They imagined that within 3 or 4 days they could overthrow the Iranian system, then partition Iran. Not only did they fail, but after those 2 objectives failed, their war became a war without a strategy. But at least you don't have nukes. Airmen arrested at Capitol for calling for Trump to be impeached, detained again after CNN interview. Remember, this guy had he had that sign on the steps of the Capitol a couple months back. He was arrested again. U.S. Air Force Major Jason Watson was arrested in July after standing on the Capitol steps and calling for President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance to be impeached. Has been detained again following an interview with CNN in which he criticized President Trump again. Today is World Humanitarian Day, and ironically and tragically enough, it's being celebrated by Aardvark land, mass murderers. The furthest thing you could be from humanitarians. They say the Aardvark condition, saving lives, or tradition, laughable. Saving lives, helping, and healing are our highest obligations. They're literally mass murderers, but okay. These are values that transcend borders, backgrounds, and beliefs. When someone is in need, we are called to act. They literally call everybody goys and scum and subhuman. But yeah, sure, bro. Nice story. Aardvark Land Foreign Ministry says, always ready to answer the call. On World Humanitarian Day, we highlight Aardvark Land's ongoing commitment to disaster relief and emergency support around the world. It would be laughable, but it's actually horrifically tragic. In honor of World Humanitarian Day 2026, they're literally starving out the Palestinians in Gaza, starving children to death, blowing them up. I mean, my God. But hey, you got a Zionist puppet regime in Venezuela. They'll go try to traffic some kids over there after a natural disaster. Jamaica, they're helping out in Jamaica. And of course, Colombia has their Zionist puppet regime installed. And see, they're helping traffic the children there after the earthquakes in South America. Oxfam International says it is difficult to celebrate World Humanitarian Day when over 1,000 aid workers have lost their lives in the line of duty. International law exists because there are clear lines no one should cross. Huh. Tell Aardvark Land that. Tell America that, for that matter. Oh, we're just sanctioning the ICC and anybody that questions genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity. Huh. Re-enlist and get 4 days off to play Grand Theft Auto 4. A U.S. Army unit in Georgia is offering active duty soldiers who re-enlist a 4-day pass to play Grand Theft Auto 4 when it's released this fall, according to a report out of CBS News. So give up I think it's another 2-year enlistment. Give up 2 years of your life, risk your life, because you're goy scum, according to our greatest allies, and you get to play video games for 4 days. Wow. Wowzers. All right, here's the big report. I'm going to take a deeper dive, a hard look at it. Yesterday, I did a summary, a report of it. Today, we're going to dive into it. National security, science, and technology strategy. This is scientific dictatorship, technocracy, the greater North America. So the overview here, they talk about they're piggybacking on last year's report, and we have it here. Actually, last year's, we did report on it at the time. National Security Strategy of the United States of America, November 2025. So they're piggybacking. How many pages is this? This is 33 pages, coincidentally enough. This one is 24 pages, the 2026 version. So they go through here, tell us how they're piggybacking off of last year's report. Trends and challenges that impact United States national security, science and technology competition. We want to remain the world's most scientifically and technologically advanced and innovative country, and to build upon these strengths, quoting last year's report there. I'm just going to scroll through a little bit of this. Pillar 1, focusing techno-strategic competition, undersea space, AI, and autonomy. To maintain and advance U.S. dominance across critical domains, relevant agencies should prioritize leadership in and application of key enabling technologies, including advanced manufacturing and materials, AI and autonomy, communications and networking, directed energy, future computing technologies, hypersonics, and advanced missile technologies, information management and cybersecurity, nuclear energy, positioning, navigation and timing, semiconductors and microelectronics, sensing and signature management, space technologies. Shape technology competition toward areas of U.S. strength. None of this is that exciting. Pillar 2, build technological resilience. None of this is that exciting. We're getting to the bullet points. Potentially transformative emergency technologies include, but are not limited to, artificial intelligence and autonomy, where approaching or archiving artificial general intelligence could present fundamentally new opportunities and threats. Biotechnology, where novel applications to human health and performance could drastically alter our competitive advantage. And adversary development of engineered bioweapons could transfer that strategic threat space. And quantum information technologies, where future breakthroughs could have profound implications for sensing, communications, computing, and information security. We want to ensure that U.S. technology and U.S. standards practically in AI, or particularly, in AI, biotech, and quantum computing drive the world forward. Again, quoting from last year's National Security Strategy document. Let's see. The United States will modernize aging and vulnerable infrastructure critical to national security, proceeding from a risk-informed prioritization basis. Opportunities include improving energy resilience by establishing microgrids powered by advanced nuclear reactors, utilizing state-of-the-art terrestrial and space weather forecast and Earth system models to enhance the resilience of physical assets and infrastructure to current and future natural disasters, optimizing AI-enabled biosurveillance to better identify and characterize novel agent bioattacks and disease outbreaks, leveraging biomanufacturing to onshore critical supply chains, building segmentation into critical network architectures, and modernizing cryptography and cyber infrastructure. This also includes prioritizing science and technology to secure operational technology and industrial control systems through cyber physical threat modeling and AI-driven anomaly detection to migrate supply chain vulnerabilities for critical components. We will advance research and development in novel material substitutes and digital tools for verifying component provenance. Yeah, not much there. Pillar 3, accelerate the pace of innovation. Everything's warp speeded. Everything's right now. And forget about any safety, any testing. It's just now. The executive orders they talk about signed by Trump, allowing for this acceleration, protect national security, science and technology. America's pioneering spirit is a key pillar of our continued economic dominance and military superiority. We must preserve it. Again, from last year's national security strategy, there's strengthened research security, modernizing foreign investment screening and security. But they just cut all that, actually. I guess it's for the select or the elect. Strategy implementation, How they're going to go about doing all this. America will ensure a skilled cross-sector national security, science and technology workforce, and will leverage the broader science and technology workforce to address national security challenges, strengthening education and training in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, at all levels, as outlined in President Trump's cyber strategy for America and America's talent strategy. Will bolster America's competitiveness in national security, science, and technology. Relevant efforts, including working with and encouraging non-federal partners to enhance K through 12 STEM education and professional teacher development, expand access to advanced placement and courses, incorporate age-appropriate CET concepts, including in AI, quantum, and space, into general science education and teacher development, strengthen, expand, and encourage pathways for skilled trades and technicians, increase the number and capacity of trade and technician registered apprenticeships, co-ops, and internships, including in AI infrastructure and microelectronics. That is your technocracy right there. Expand the use of existing training programs and curricula developed by and in coordination with industry, and facilitate that's your corporate fascist government right there. Facilitate partnerships between educational institutions, including community colleges and industry, to create new certifications, credentialing, and competency models for emerging fields, including AI infrastructure, quantum, biotechnology, and advanced nuclear reactor construction and operation. It's going more how they're going to do it. Direct federal hiring pipeline. You too can work for Skynet here. Research and development, infrastructure, building all of that out. They claim federal research and development funding, stealing more from you and I, bankrupting the future. Partnerships with non-federal stakeholders. That is your corporate fascist government there. In the long run, maintaining American economic technologies and preeminence is the surest way to detour and prevent a large-scale military conflict. These guys. The appendix gets into the juice of it. Appendix A, critical and emerging technologies list update. Critical and emerging technologies are a subset of advanced technologies that are or may become critically important to U.S. national security. This is a narrower focus than listing all technologies relevant or even important to national security. Each identified CET area includes a subset of subfields that illustrate its scope, but are not meant to be comprehensive. Relevant departments and agencies should include within their research and development activities a dedicated focus on maintaining U.S. leadership in identified CET areas, and within national security, science, and technology should prioritize their application towards supporting and enabling national security objectives. Advancing manufacturing and materials. Advancing additive manufacturing beyond prototyping, especially for metals, ceramics, and large-scale structures. Smart manufacturing and use of digital threads and digital twins. Nano manufacturing. Materials by design utilizing AI and autonomous development and production. High entropy alloys. Advanced composites and lightweight metals. Materials with novel, tailored, and improved properties, including biomaterials and substitution of rare earth or critical minerals-based alloys with earth-abundant minerals. Artificial intelligence and autonomy. Perception, recognition, and sensor fusion. Planning, reasoning, and decision-making. robotics and embodied intelligence, foundational models including large language, multi-module, and world systems, multi-agent systems, and swarm intelligence, autonomous systems for surface, air, maritime, space, and cyber domains, autonomous command and control, autonomous agent identification and authentication, interpretability and control, interpretability and control, adversarial, robust, and AI security, techniques to enable next generation AI systems such as continual learning, distributed and privacy preserving machine learning. That's your Skynet right there. Biotechnology, novel synthetic biology, including nucleic acid synthesis, genome and epigenome engineering, protein design synthesis, and engineering and computational modeling, engineering of subcellular, multicellular, multiscale, cell-free, and viral systems, novel therapeutic design and manufacturing, bitonic, abitonic interfaces, and novel materials, biomanufacturing, and bioprocessing technologies, neurotechnologies, take your brain chip, their communications and networking, future generation wireless networks, optical links and fiber technology, spectrum access technology, software defined networking and radios, modern data exchange techniques, adaptive network controls, resilient and path diverse communications, including delay, torrent, and infrastructure independent networking, adaptive waveforms and space stratospheric modalities, directed energy weapons right here, directed energy, lasers, high power microwaves, particle beams. So say if it's a conspiracy theory and you're crazy, it's in the 2026 U.S. National Security Strategy, directed energy weapons right here. Future computing technologies, advanced and next generation computing architectures, photonic, neuromorphonic, and other non-von Neumann computing modalities, high performance supercomputing, including for AI applications, edge computing and devices for tactical environments, brain computer interfaces, your brain chip right there. Enabling technologies for high security computing, hardening operating systems for consumer use, advanced spatial computing, hypersonics, which we still don't have officially publicly on the record, hypersonics and advanced missile technologies, propulsion, aerodynamics and control, materials, structures and manufacturing, testing, detection, tracking, characterization, and defense, information management and cybersecurity, data management, including storage and security, AI-enabled and autonomous cyber capabilities, distributed ledger technologies and digital assets, digital identity technologies and biometrics, computing, supply chain security and assurance, communications network and cyber physical system security, post-quantum cryptography, operational technology and industrial control system security and resilience, and nuclear energy, advanced fission reactors, fusion energy, small nuclear power and propulsion systems, high temperature and radiation resistant materials, positive navigation and timing, diversified PNT enabled technologies for airborne, space-based, terrestrial, subterranean, and underwater settings, interference jamming and spoofing detection, disruption, denial, resisting, and hardening technologies, chip scale frequency standards, inertia sensing, and atomic clocks. Quantum information technologies, quantum computing, quantum sensing, quantum communications and networking, enabling components, algorithms, materials, and fabrication techniques, semiconductors and microelectronics, designed automation tools, advanced manufacturing process technologies and equipment beyond complementary metal oxide semiconductors technology, heterogeneous integration and advanced packaging, specialized hardware components for AI, RF, and optical applications, elevated radiation environments, high-powered devices, and other critical applications, novel material for advanced microelectronics, including 2D materials, micro electromechanical and nano electromechanical systems, integrated photonics, sensing and signature management, advanced sensors and sensing systems, including distributed apertures, data processing and fusion, adaptive optics, detection and characterization of pathogens and of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons and threat materials, space technologies, cost-effective, on-demand, and reusable space launch, advanced space vehicle power generation and propulsion, novel space vehicle thermal management, access to and use of cislunar space and novel orbits, in-space aggregation and assembly, biotechnologies for space applications, crewed space flight enablers. And then finally, Appendix B, alignment of critical and emerging technologies with priority national security needs. And they give us a nice little chart here of what we're checking the box here. Wowzers, that was quite a bit. And then the last page blank, but nice little chart here to break it all down. Thank you for bearing with me through that. We had to read it and get it down there for you. Again, I'll post a link at Weaponized News Substack. You can read the full document there. You can go to the whitehouse.gov and find it there as well. U.S. National Security Strategy. Let me scroll all the way back up. U.S. National Security Strategy, Science and Technology, 2026 edition, right there, i.e. technocracy, i.e. scientific dictatorship, i.e. the greater North America. All right, we got that out of the way. It had to be done. Thank you for bearing with me through that. Moving on here now. Again, another report from yesterday. Flashback. David Marins, former NIAID advisor, pleads guilty to bat record scheme there during the bat times. A former senior advisor to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases has pled guilty to a charge stemming from a scheme to hide federal records during the bat times. Under a deal reached with federal prosecutors in Maryland, David Marins, 78 years old, agreed to plead guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit offenses and to defraud the United States. He faces up to 5 years in prison. Marins, a senior advisor at NIAID's office of the director from 2006 to 2022, was indicted in April and charged with 5 counts for what prosecutors said at the time was his role in a scheme to defraud the United States by shielding federal records related to the bat times from the public. You don't say. You don't say. Some would say it was a conspiracy. This piece of garbage. He should burn in hell, actually. Didn't they just bring back firing squads This 5-year sentence is not enough for this piece of garbage. One of many in U.S. public health. I can't even go there because I'm just going to start getting very angry. So that happened. And then all the talk out there on the internet, oh, this is just the first domino. He's going to rat everybody else out. That was in the conspiracy. Yeah, I have my doubts still. They got to throw you a bone every now and again. And they have done that here. They have done that. I'm not holding my breath for any larger conspiracy convictions. I hope I'm wrong. 5 Americans killed. Safari helicopter crashes in Kenya, killing 7 people, including 5 Americans, according to a report out of ZBS News. A helicopter taking tourists on a safari crashed earlier today in a remote part of northern Kenya, killing all 7 people on board, 5 of which were Americans, tragically enough, there in Kenya. American tourist dies after being struck by lightning while hiking in Sicily's Mount Etna. An American tourist was killed by a lightning strike. Jeez. While hiking Europe's largest volcano following a period of intense volcanic activity, Italian fighters said on Monday. 29-year-old man was from Kansas. He was rescued by helicopter after being struck by lightning Sunday evening. He was hospitalized and later died. Wowzers. Talk about a message from God or from the universe, getting struck by lightning and dying. Wowzers. Harvard Medical School to pay $53 million in morgue scandal settlement. They were illegally selling dead bodies out there. Harvard agreed Monday to a $53 million settlement to resolve civil lawsuits accusing the school of negligence in its handling of donated human remains. The lawsuits stem from the conduct of Cedric Lodge, a former HMS morgue manager who was sentenced to 8 years in prison in December for unlawfully transporting stolen human remains. Federal prosecutors said that between 2018 and August 2022, Lodge took organs, brains, faces, and other body parts from donated cadavers after they had been used for teaching and research, but before they could be disposed of. He brought the remains to his New Hampshire home and sold them to buyers in several states, including Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. 6 co-conspirators who purchased the remains from Lodge have since pled guilty and been sentenced. Yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean? FBI posted this a little earlier today. Case update from Nashville FBI. 764 extremist group member sentenced for production of child PDF and distribution of animal crushing videos. Talk about some sick freaks. Kyle William Spitz, formerly an online leader of the nihilistic violent extremist NVE group 764 and an administrator and leader of the 764 network, Harm Nation, was sentenced to 77 years in prison for production of child sexual exploitation material, abetting the distribution of animal crushing videos, and processing and accessing with the intent to view. Wowzers. Epstein client Leon Black threatened with contempt by House panel chair. Republican James Comer writes to private equity investors demanding full cooperation with the ongoing House Oversight Committee investigation into Epstein co-conspirators. It's all show, though, as we've learned here now. At the top of the hour, give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We blasted through an hour of news. I don't see anybody else reporting on U.S. science and technology national security policy for 2026. Who else is reporting on it? Nobody. That's the value we're giving you here at Weaponized News, showing you. Take it for what it is. That's what the government's doing. They're telling us. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there, a white background sticker, a clear sticker, weaponizednews.com/shop. We have stickers over there. We got baseball caps, t-shirts, coffee mugs, long sleeve shirts, tank tops. We have shot glasses, as some in the audience claim this show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. Bunch of different gear over there, weaponizednews.com/shop. Go take a look. The link's in the description below this video. I put almost everything I got right back into Weaponized News here in a losing effort, by the way. But we continue to march forward and do our duty as we must. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links, all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. You'll get the show streaming there live now. You'll get the full show, a summary of the show, links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. Weaponized News Substack channel. All of it's free for you, the public. We could use some more support over here. We do appreciate all the subscribers, patrons of the store, and donors. We always need more as inflation's killing us. We'll get into that in the economic reporting section of the show. Become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack. The link is in the description below this video. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated out there in the audience. Give us a like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that is free for you. Thank you very much for your attention to that matter. weaponizednews.com/shop. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Wednesday, August 19th, 2026 edition. Continuing with the Epstein reporting here now. International Business Times out of the UK reports Epstein victim claims secret tapes show Donald Trump in alleged sexual encounters with, quote, many girls in court files. That's mainstream. I know. Don't have TDS or whatever other nonsense. Newly surfaced Justice Department records placed Donald Trump at the center of Epstein files controversy once again. Notes from an FBI interview. We showed you that, the handwritten notes. They're like, yeah, they're accusing Trump of raping kids again. And they just throw it in the garbage. I mean, that's where we're at with the FBI. Law and order. Nobody's above the law. Yeah, except for all the Epsteiners. They're all above the law. As we've seen, as the Justice Department continues the cover-up of the Epstein files with Trump's personal attorney, now Attorney General Todd Blanche, leading the way. Award-winning Epstein reporter brands Natalie Harp the side piece of Trump. You seen the reports about this whack job chick? I was seeing her estranged brother saying she had some strange obsession with presidents since she was a young girl and has written to every president. I think she's like in her mid-30s right now. She's written to every president since she was a little girl. Like, very bizarre. The way I look at this is she's some type of and there's reports like the motorcade one time tried to ditch her, so she jumped in the trunk and had all these shouting matches with different Trump aides and so on. And they're building a big old scandal around this. To me, she looks like potentially MK Ultra mind control victim there. Could be, I don't know, or just crazy. Natalie Harp, close personal assistant to Trump. Now they're floating the idea maybe one of his mistresses. Wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Not in the least. Not in the least. But the reporting a little bit about it. So I try not to get into too much of the scandals because we know it's going to be sensational. There's enough real news that's plenty sensational. We don't even have to pump it up. You know what I mean? But they're trying to build, that is your Trump opposition media out there, I guess you could call them, are trying to build up this scandal I've been noticing over the last week that behind Trump's relationship with Natalie Harp. But hey, she may be a MK Ultra trafficking mind control victim. That's definitely in the cards. Judge threatens Trump DOJ with jail time over Epstein files. And so we're still waiting, right? This is out of Crooks and Liars. They say, today we had our usual roundtable for Epstein update. They talk about their Judge Emmett Sullivan, 41-year veteran of the bench, told Trump's DOJ lawyers would face jail time if they keep stonewalling on releasing all of the horrors of the Epstein files. Well, there's a bunch of unreleased files still they're holding on to, and that's a big point of contention. Another giant point of contention is all of the redactions of the co-conspirators as well. So we're still waiting for some action. A lot of threats out of this Judge Sullivan, but still no action. Throw their ass in jail. I don't care if they're the DOJ. Throw their ass in jail, Judge Sullivan. And then here is Massey. Massey demands perp walks for Epstein class.
To call Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile. Maybe he was a sexual deviant. But once I realized that they were 14 and 13, he was a pedophile. I mean, you had Jeffrey Epstein, who on one hand was dealing with presidents and prime ministers and billionaires, and knew how to conduct himself and project power among those folks. And then here he is with these young girls. And I think, you know, for me at that first press conference.
Alongside the women.
With the women, yeah. That was the first time that I met them. And I realized before that, I wondered if it was appropriate to call Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile. Maybe he was a sexual deviant. But once I realized that they were 14 and 13, he was a pedophile. That's not an overuse of the word.
And they also told me they were grateful, most of them were grateful that the millions of documents from the Epstein files have now been released. But then they say, nothing. No arrests, no one's been asked to come, none of them have been asked to come in for an interview since the information was published. And as a result, they essentially feel gaslit.
Mm-hmm. Well, if people ask me, are you satisfied? Have there been enough documents produced? And my answer to that is I'm not satisfied until the survivors are satisfied. That's my benchmark. And obviously, you know, in my floor speech here in the House of Representatives, I said men need to be perp walked in handcuffs to the jail. And until we see that here in this country, we've seen some of that in other countries, but until we see that here in this country, we don't have a system of justice that's working.
Are you confident you will see that?
I don't know if we're going to see it in this administration. I mean,
why do you say that?
And it was way worse than 13 and 14-year-old girls. They were eating babies and drinking the blood, man. We covered it. All right. It's way worse than even what old Massey's saying right there. They're having the 2026 second annual humanoid robot games right now in China. Here's of course, it would be 666 teams, 666 teams, and 2,056 robots from 16 countries and regions across 6 continents will compete in the second annual humanoid robot games. They're in China going on right now. These humanoid robots are advancing. Here's a video comparing last year's humanoid robots, August 2025 to August 2026, and you can see that they are advancing quite a bit. So they've already broken a bunch of these human records. They are robots, like the high jump, the long jump, the sprint. They're breaking all these records, but they're robots. They seem to be advancing quickly here now. The big competition for our technocracy, techno-fascist companies over here, the AI bros that say they're going to make everybody unemployed and create the utopia. The biggest competition for them is China's open source models. The Chinese embassy posted, China's open source AI approach is expanding access to advanced technologies while supporting stronger digital sovereignty. Shared foundations, affordable deployments, and open standards can help countries strengthen local innovation, safeguards data governance, and create greater value within their own digital economies. Some little memes they put out of the Chinese embassy right here. And that's a direct challenge again to the fraud known as our AI industry. OpenAI, Anthropic, NVIDIA, and xAI, the big dogs there, right? As we've covered and continue to cover. The national debt now is officially over $40,000. Your share, you're in my share, if you're a U.S. citizen, $119,699 for every U.S. citizen. That's what I'm talking about. They're mortgaging our children, our future, and our children's future, and our grandchildren's future to prop up AI BS, the surveillance state, the technocracy, the scientific dictatorship. Wall Street Journal, U.S. debt just topped 40 trillion. Right here. Intra-governmental debt is the darker color right there. The darker green, and then the lighter green, debt held by the public. You can see right there. Gross U.S. debt has surpassed $40 trillion, a new milestone in the country's struggle to control its finances. There's no struggle. Our government's corrupt beyond anybody's wildest imagination. There's no struggle. It's not a bug in the system. It's a feature of the fiat debt-based monetary system that at some point will come to an end as per design. As per design. When the bankers, it will come to an end at the time of the bankers' choosing. U.S. national debt hits 40 trillion, raising by $90,000 per second. Imagine that. It's hard to imagine that. It's increasing $90,000 per second. We're going to have quantum debt here before you know it. Data from the U.S. Congress Joint Economic Committee reveals that the debt grew at an astonishing rate of $90,000 per second over the last year. And it's exponential, right, due to compounding. And so it's going to continue to increase that way. Amazing. Every single representative, everybody in Congress should be thrown out on their ass for this, honestly. But what do? The entire system's corrupt to the core. It's not a bug, it's a feature. The Kabasi letter says, who will stop this train? The U.S. government is now spending $3.8 billion on interest per day. Think about that. That's still a lot of freaking money until they debase it to zero. But $3.8 billion on interest per day is a lot of freaking money. By 2028, estimates show that the U.S. will spend $5 billion per day on interest, more than on any other category. To put this into perspective, the U.S. now spends $3.1 billion per day on Medicare and $2.5 billion per day on war. Well, we can crank up those war numbers, surely, and they're going to off a bunch of people more, so the Medicare should go down, right? We got this, bro. We got this. Check out this striking on this graph. The line almost goes straight vertical. Moderna stock did go straight vertical. We'll get to that. But the bat times, it was going along, not so bad. .com bubble, it was pretty bad. The financial crisis, too big to jail, too big to fail. That was pretty bad. And then you hit the bat times, and it's just straight up. They're like, bat times, pedal to metal, great reset, the whole routine. We're living it now. We're living it now. Treasury doubles debt buybacks as Bitchute moves to steady bond market. The Treasury Department said earlier today it will at least double the level of government debt buybacks in the next few months, targeting the sensitive long duration segment of the market. Yields tumbled following the announcement, and stock market futures surged. Yeah, they're pumping the market. They're pumping the fraud. Here's a little chart right here. You can see right there, it literally fell off a cliff upon that announcement, made a little recovery, and then went right back down the cliff there. Trump on the bond market. Americans should not be concerned about volatility. Shouldn't be concerned about eating or anything, actually. Red lights are flashing in energy markets. Oil prices are once again uncomfortably high, but the bigger problem is lurking just beneath the surface. We covered this yesterday. The diesel crack spread skyrocketed to $1 or $102 a barrel on Monday. And of course, that's going to trickle down to everything that diesel's used to transport now, isn't it? Causing an increase in the price because the cost of transport is increasing. They're going to pass that cost off to the consumer. What the government is doing now is the equivalent of holding a 30-year mortgage at a 3% interest rate. We got some 33 columns in there. At a 3% interest rate and refinancing it into a 4% one-year adjustable rate mortgage. In other words, you are replacing long-term, low-cost debt with short-term, higher-cost debt. Now apply that to trillions of US dollars. That is effectively what the US Treasury is being forced to do as long-term yields surge. Unfortunately, the Treasury is largely playing the hand it has been dealt. The next phase of the US deficit spending crisis began today. And again, another look at that graph. It fell off a cliff, right, when they made that announcement. U.S. Treasury announces intervention. And everybody knew, you don't want the long term. We're now going to shift to investing in the short term, as was the point of it all. The average price for U.S. ground beef jumped 9% year over year last month in July to a record $7.10 per pound. Ground beef prices have surged 65+% since the end of 2019, since the bat times, essentially. That's just up more than double since the bat times. Eat plastic rice, as they have done in the past there in China. That'll be next for America, I'm sure. Meanwhile, steak prices surged 10+% year over year to a record 13.10 cents per pound, up 70+% since the bat times began. As a result, beef sales volumes fell by 0.3%, by minus 0.3% year over year over the 13 months ending in mid-July. This is a sharp reversal from 5.4% plus year over year growth during the same time period in 2025. All uncooked ground beef, you could see a steady increase right here. But hey, the good news is you can get $50 off your Ozempic at trumprx.gov. So you shouldn't even really be worrying about eating anymore in the golden age of Trump's economy. That's like, are you a call me? You know what I mean? You want to actually eat dinner? That's call me talk. Talk about rigging and BS. Moderna stock. Look at this. Moderna announced what they announced. They're going to cure. They're going to cure cancer. How does Moderna even have a company? How are they not all in prison? Right? Just shows you how fraudulent it all is. Moderna stock extended gains to 212+% on the day in after hours trading following positive phase 3 results of the first mRNA treatment to prevent cancer. Look at this. Wowzers. Talk about an increase. Talk about a rigging. Unusual Wells posts. Look at this. This is wild. Unlikely play, but this option contract is up 711,500% and was nowhere near priced in by the market. Moderna announced mRNA miracle working on melanoma. You know what else works on it? Run from the cure. That's all I could say. Look it up. And that's all free, just saying. But hey, we have to make $1 gazillion off of fraud here for Moderna one more time around. Incredible bets being paid off there now upon Moderna's lies. Private equity is struck with 33,575 unsold businesses, according to the failing New York Times. Don't you hate when private equity buys a bunch of companies and can't resell them after they corporate rate them? That's very sad for these private equity parasites. Goldman Sachs research reveals that AI is eliminating approximately 16,000 U.S. jobs a month. Employers are using your personal data to figure out what the lowest salary you'll accept is. So very forthcoming by employers. They're offering maximum value to their employees. 3 in 5 young adults say that their lives are lacking a sense of meaning and purpose, according to the BBC. That's what the system's designed to do, actually. So everything's working perfectly fine in scientific dictatorship. Australia's Financial Crimes Agency has identified coordinated mortgage fraud that could reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars following a review of the country's major banks. Stripe. We use Stripe here at Weaponized News. You don't have many options for online payment processing. It's literally integrated into the backbone of the internet. You don't have a choice if you want to process payments on the internet. There's a few others out there, but Stripe is built in, essentially. Stripe tells investors that, quote, the singularity has begun. Seriously. Per Axios, so it's all extremely questionable reporting. It's just all extremely questionable, but that's what Stripe is claiming, according to Axios reporting. All right. What else? Where are we at? Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, they're real happy right now because they just got these giant contracts to produce Patriot missile systems and other war systems for the Pentagon. So they're profiteering handsomely right now. And that's really all that matters for the economy. Who cares if you can eat? You're a commie if you're hungry. Yeah, so here and there, you know, what are they announcing here? We've created 3,000 jobs, the White House says. They haven't created jack. I guess they have indirectly through stolen money. Right. But the White House says we've created 3,000 jobs in Tucson just for the Raytheon factory alone, let alone the supply chain. So, yeah, it's our economy's backed up by murder. And so that's essentially what's propping up the economy now is murder of brown people. And so we should appreciate it, actually. Bathe in the blood of the windfall of profits for the military industrial complex. Trump, they're trying to get this Clarity Act passed, which works with the Genius Act, which is going to, Aaron Day talks about it a lot. It's going to, well, it's going to screw you over in your crypto, for one thing. So they had a press conference at the White House with the big tech scam artist today. Trump did. The fraud that is the SEC. Here's the head of the SEC governor says, from day one, you've made our nation's financial dominance and innovation job one, but increasing the level of fraud and corruption. There you go. This dude. Trump says we're ensuring that America remains the undisputed leader, not only in Bitcoin and crypto, but also technologies like prediction markets, artificial intelligence, and much more. We have the world's biggest casino going on here, leading the way. Trump administration axes refundable tax credits for illegal migrants, saving taxpayers $3 billion. That's laughable. All the fraud investigations, all the taxpayer saving. Go look at interest on the debt. Give me a break. It's all laughable at this point. $3 billion is a lot of money. Look at interest on the debt. It's freaking chump change. Trump on AI here. We'll play you this clip as they're building out technocracy.
Tens of millions of working
Right.
Americans. Many of them, they say, we love President Trump, but we're still cautious about AI. And
Yeah.
crypto. What do you say to those who are still reticent to embrace this?
So I think it's a great question, and I think it's going to create a lot of jobs. It's going to create success. It's going to create tremendous innovation medically. I mean, they're coming up with already, amazingly, they came out with something today that I looked at it having to do, I won't go into the details, but having to do it with a pretty unstoppable disease, and all of a sudden they're coming up with answers that they never thought were possible.
What a load of shit. These are just con man liars. Of course, he's talking about Moderna. I'm sure he profiteered handsomely off of it. Trump says the Strait of Hormuz is open. A lot of boats are coming through. And then the state of affairs here now, illustrated in a video that's circulating online widely here now. Second story deck collapses under SWAT and U.S. Marshals in Missouri while serving an arrest warrant. And so this is illustrative of the system. So all the big tough dudes with guns there, you would think they'd have some situational awareness and, eye out the platform they're standing on and do some type of calculation, a quick one, and say, hey, there's all these dudes on here. Can this thing even hold us up? But no, they'd just rather kill somebody and their dog, I'm sure. They were getting the bad guys as they always do. AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline, we're up to $4.09 today. $4.09 today. You can see it's up a cool, 2 cents from yesterday. Killing us. Brown University, Watson School of International and Public Affairs. Total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran war is up to $87.5 billion. The Iran war, of course, starting on February 28, 2026. And then the per household cost burden spread across both gasoline and diesel is up to $608 per U.S. household. Kill Iranians. How dare they think of nuclear? It's so worth it. Trump tells us every day it's worth it.
The strait, last night we had a lot of boats come through. We have possession, complete control of the strait. I mean, outside of nuisance value, and there is nuisance value when they shoot a drone every once in a while, and not everybody's going to go through, but they come through.
We have complete control of the Strait of Hormuz, Trump says. Reports are coming out. Alternative shipping lanes have been developed there. U.S. forces have quietly opened a protected shipping corridor through the southern Strait of Hormuz, allowing 15 to 20 tankers to transit nightly. Officials say the operation is now moving nearly 10 million barrels of oil per day, about half pre-war levels, helping ease global supply disruptions. The military coordinates tankers' movements with Gulf partners while U.S. fighter jets protect ships from Iranian drones and cruise missiles. It says in the Constitution, I'll get it out and read it, that it's our duty to be the police of the Strait of Hormuz. No, it says nothing like that, and this is complete bullshit. The military coordinates tanker movements with Gulf partners while U.S. fighter jets protect ships from Iranian drones and cruise missiles. Officials say recent U.S. strikes degraded Iran's surveillance capabilities, giving Tehran limited visibility into the corridor. And we would know it was out of, that's a post by Axios, freaking aardvark mouthpiece. There, Hormuz shipping traffic slows as uncertainty over reopening the strait persists. Shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz declined today, with data showing that most ship owners continued to steer clear of the key waterway amid uncertainty over when it would reopen following the blockade during the Iran war. Well, listen to Trump. Drive by there and get shot in the face, and he'll just laugh in your face and just lie more. Kepler data showed that 6 commodity vessels had crossed the strait by 2:58 time on Tuesday yesterday, down from 9 the previous day and below the 10-day average of 11 crossings. Among the vessels entering the Gulf was an empty, very large crude carrier that used the Omani side of the strait, along with 2 tankers, 1 medium range and 1 intermediary range, according to the data. No Saudi oil shipments were tracked. At Bab al-Mandab in the Red Sea, Kepler data showed 30 commodity vessels crossing over the weekend, up from 19 the previous week. But no Saudi oil is being allowed to be shipped through there per the Houthis. Iran has just forced 2 vessels. This was earlier today, reported by the Hormuz letter. Iran has just forced 2 vessels, including a Chinese oil tanker, to turn around after they tried to cross Iran's northern corridor of the Strait of Hormuz. With initial reports, this comes as a result of vessels' refusal to pay Iran's tolls. They're literally standing there with a gun saying, pay us or we shoot you. So is America. This is one of the first such incidences on the Iranian northern side of the strait, compared to the usual pattern of U.S.-backed southern Omani corridor. The vessels include the Coral Paranus, heading from the UAE to Pakistan, and a Chinese VLCC tanker. A senior Iranian official said yesterday Iran completed the groundwork for a permanent toll system routing all shipping through Iran's northern lane of the Strait of Hormuz, and is already enforcing it. But Trump just told me we control the Strait of Hormuz. Ansarallah, the Houthis appear to have struck a 3rd vessel. UK MTO says a cargo ship was struck by multiple unidentified projectiles about 40 nautical miles southeast of Yemen, resulting in a complete constructive loss of the vessel. The ship was unmanned at the time of the incident. Local authorities claimed authorities are investigating the attack, and the origin of missiles has not yet been confirmed. You can see on the map right here again, tough neighborhood making it through here, especially if the Houthis associate you with Saudi Arabia. They've said repeatedly, we're going to whack you. So very rough neighborhood right there, the Al-Mandab Strait. Yemen Houthis say they have established 3 key deterrence equations: blockade for blockade, preventing Saudi maritime traffic from passing, targeting Saudi military buildup, striking forces, and equipment wherever they may be deployed, defending Yemeni sovereignty, confronting any violation of Yemeni's territorial airspace. From July 20th to today, August 19th, Yemen's Houthis say they targeted 8 Saudi oil vessels, 5 in the Red Sea and 3 in the Gulf of Aden and Arabian Sea, and forced 48 others to turn back. They also report carrying out 9 operations in response to attacks on Yemen Houthi-run areas there. Yemen's Houthis say they conducted another 14 operations against Saudi's buildups, equipment, and transportation vessels. They claim the attacks caused hundreds of casualties, destroyed equipment and storage facilities, sank or burned 2 military landing ships, and destroyed more than 10 military boats. This dude, right? He's always all pissed off, screaming. That dude from the Houthis saying all that earlier today. Which Koreans are we friends with? Apparently, Trump likes North Korea more than South Korea. Maybe, I don't know, because they're this tyrannical dictatorship with nuclear weapons. Trump seems to like that idea a whole lot. Seoul, South Korea, says Trump using military drill cuts to pressure South Korea on Iran. South Korea Foreign Minister Chow Hyung said earlier today that the United States President Trump's order to scale back joint military exercises appeared to be partly aimed at pressuring Seoul to support Washington's efforts in its U.S. aardvark land war on Iran, as well as address other outstanding issues, including investment. He said, I think Trump's message includes pressure over several pending issues concerning the South Korean government, as well as a message to North Korea and an intention by the United States to break a stalemate in the Iran war. It's a Persian standoff in the Strait of Hormuz. Telling you. Still here now. One possible point of friction is South Korea's commitment to invest $350 billion in the United States under a trade agreement signed last year. He said Seoul has not yet disclosed details of the investment plan, although he said Washington had provided a proposal outlining potential projects. We could not move faster on the investment plan as we had to consider factors such as a commercial viability and take legal procedures. Yeah, who cares? Just laugh at everybody and say, America. Oh, you can't. You're South Korea. Sorry. That's a report out of Reuters. China's building these artificial islands still. They've been working on this for years now. China has completed the first phase of construction on Antelope Reef in the disputed South China Sea, creating a nearly 6 kilometer long artificial island with a deep water harbor and what could become a runway. While Beijing says the site will support civilian activities, analysts believe it could significantly strengthen China's military presence and surveillance capabilities in the region, including in a potential Taiwan conflict. Report out of Reuters. Here's that artificial island they built there. Quite an achievement, actually. But yeah, it's a military base. Give me a break. It's for civilians to make microchips. No, it's a military base. Give me a friggin' break. ICC condemns relentless U.S. sanctions as flagrant assault on global judicial independence. Well, they're a bunch of friggin' left-wing commies, we're told by the right-wing fascists at the State Department, right? Sure. So there you go. Aardvarks are above the law, and everybody else is a friggin' antiseptic terrorist. So there you go. The murders will continue. Amid a total oil blockade imposed by the United States, resulting in nationwide blackouts, medical shortages, and disruptions to hospital operations, Cuba is transitioning away from fossil fuels toward renewable energy. We'll build a bunch of solar and windmills. We'll bomb those. Over 2,500 photovoltaic parks have been inaugurated across the country, a 96% increase over those built the same time last year. Let's watch this report out of a drop site. Drop site reporter Saucy Algendre. report about the situation there in Cuba facing the ongoing U.S. siege.
Amidst the tightest blockade in Cuba's history, the country is taking giant steps towards a true energetic revolution. Initially proclaimed in 2005, during the special period after the fall of the USSR, the first energy revolution implemented a long-term strategy of exploring national fossil fuel sources, the conversion to low-consumption light bulbs, or the promotion of rice cookers granted by the state and demonstrated by Fidel himself on national television. All of which were not just technical measures, but an all-encompassing political project of adapting the revolution to the emerging needs of the new eras. These changes, by 2007, had managed to almost entirely eradicate energy shutdowns. However, this initial energetic revolution did not intend on renouncing fossil fuel. As a matter of fact, it depended strongly on imported fuel, particularly Venezuelan, with the Bolivarian Revolution being crucial to these measures. This, the route that was taken because of the embargo at the time, that up until today blocks the entry of imported electronic components needed to explore and to refine local fuel. Now, amidst the total oil embargo imposed by Trump this January, Cuba is now pressing once again towards a new energetic revolution that is being pursued at light speed. As part of a long-needed transition to renewable energy, particularly solar energy, reducing dependence from fossil fuel, since the start of this oil blockade, Cuba has inaugurated over 2,500 photovoltaic parks all around the country. As of May this year, already representing a 96% increase from the barely 92 parks active this time last year. This with the help of Chinese investment. So far, these parks are being used to power hospitals, homes in secluded rural areas, and other emergency facilities. As well as the place I'm standing on, La Quinta Los Molinos, where 142 solar panels were set up in 2022, powering its own energy needs as well as the ones in the block. And also used to power the only inclusive playing site for children with disabilities that exists in Cuba, right here. Now, it's not just the state promoting this energy transition.
Yeah, they'll probably get bombed there as we continue to talk about taking Cuba. About half of Venezuela's oil production is now being exported to the United States. U.S. Energy Undersecretary said yesterday to Reuters. In the last couple of months, we're seeing north of 500,000 barrels of approximately half of production coming out of Venezuela, coming to the United States, to the refineries that were built specifically for that crude oil. He said Venezuela is producing around 1.25 million barrels per day. The surge marks a sharp redirection of Venezuela's oil away from China, its longtime top buyer, toward the United States. At the end of 2025, only about 135,000 of Venezuela's roughly 1 million barrels per day went to American refineries. The shift follows Trump's kidnapping of Maduro. No, I added that. The shift follows Trump's push to force Caracas open to U.S. oil companies, Rockefeller oil oligarchs, backed by the threat of military intervention and kidnappings. So, yeah. Again, the giant drug war going on in Mexico, Central, and South America. U.S. Southern Command says combating cartels in the Western Hemisphere, because it says it's our job to do that in the Constitution. Here's some propaganda coming out of U.S. Central Command. So their propaganda videos just proudly posting extrajudicial assassinations. Well, they're the bad drug narco terrorists. Well, prove it, bro. Well, we can't. We blew up all the evidence. Well, good enough, right? I mean, it's straight up murder. It's straight up murder. No due process. Fighting a giant drug war there for the CIA, for the U.S. intelligence to be the number one contraband trafficker in the world. Lethal readiness on full display. They're still bragging up the Panamax 2026 out of U.S. Central Command. Another video, it's just a bunch of military men in uniform with big guns. Not much to really see there. Ongoing training operations there in Central and South America to shore up the greater North America project. They're trying to stir up a civil war in Iraq. Back to West Asia region here now. Iraq resistance leader decries U.S. control over Iraq's oil money and airspace. Why are you upset, bro? It's America. We own the world. Trump will tell you so. He said, in my country, oil is sold, but Iraq has no right to dispose of its own money because there is an American occupation. He said Iraqi planes don't fly in our skies except with America's permission, and that Washington blocks Iraq from buying electricity from Turkey or Iran, striking deals with China, or contracting firms like Siemens to fix its power grid. We own you, bro. We own you. Because we liberated Iraq from that evil Saddam who was going to get us with weapons of mass destruction. Remember? So Iraq should be thanking us for owning their asses, right? Sure. He went on to say, the people want full sovereignty for Iraq. So where is the sovereignty, gentlemen? Getting a little uppity there. Again, giant campaign by America and Aardvark land to seize Hezbollah and other Iranian militia proxy groups' weapons in Iraq, continuing to destabilize them. Your sovereignty is you do what America says, or we kill another million Iraqis. We kill your whole country. Because America, democracy, freedom. That's what we do. Iran's Ghalibaf arrives in Baghdad to strengthen ties with Iraq. Iranian parliamentary speaker Ghalibaf, same dude that was trolling Trump with his image in front of the Strait of Hormuz map. We showed it earlier in the show. Anyway, that dude, he arrived in Baghdad earlier today for a 3-day visit, saying Tehran intends to take practical measures to strengthen ties with Iraq. Speaking to reporters after laying a wreath at the memorial for Abdul Mahdi al-Mahades and Qasem Soleimani near Baghdad International Airport, Ghalibaf said, we will meet with senior government officials. He also said Iran was prepared to expand cooperation with countries across the region. Before arriving in Baghdad, Ghalibaf said in an ex post that Iran and Iraq would take practical and significant steps during his visit to strengthen the security of both countries as well as their shared security. On to Russia, Ukraine. It's quite horrific. Massive Russian missile attack on Kiev last night with multiple waves of ballistic and hypersonic missiles. Residents describe endless explosions among the loudest of the war. At least 15 to 16 missiles tracked towards Kiev in the first 20 minutes, including Iskander-M, North Korean KN-23, and 5.8 Zarkon hypersonic missiles launched from multiple Russian regions simultaneously. The attack exploits Ukraine's depleted Patriot missile interceptor systems. And there's some video, but it's at night. It's just big explosions, not really all that much. Ukraine woman, and there's a bunch of these videos I saw today. Well, it's ongoing since the war began, but trying to round up Ukrainian men to go become cannon fodder on the front lines there. Ukrainian woman drops to her knees, pleading for the military recruitment officers not to take her husband. Many of these clips where they just drive around in vans and grabbing Ukrainian men off the street. Say, you're in the army now, bud. Go kill a Russian. But you may die as well. Whatever. It's for America and NATO. Putin, as we continue to report, Ukraine's striking deep inside Russia. They're hitting Moscow. They're targeting their wild berries, other logistics hubs, targeting Russian economy. They've targeted their petroleum manufacturing capabilities all throughout Russia. And Putin and Russians are kind of pissed off. They're kind of a little bit pissed off. Yesterday, Lavrov, foreign minister, said they're going to take Ukraine using long-range strikes, using UK weapons as a direct attack by Britain against Russia. Things are escalating. It needs to de-escalate, not increase in escalation. Putin said, despite the recent terrorist attacks, our trade infrastructure is operating efficiently and reliably. They blew up, like, I forget even the numbers now, a bunch of their wild berries logistics and warehouse capabilities there, which again, wild berries is Russian equivalent of our Amazon. Putin also said Ukraine's terrorist attacks are, of course, causing us harm, but there have not been and cannot be any critical consequences. All the governments, right? No matter what the damage, whatever it is, they just lie. No big deal, bro. They're blowing the hell out of you, Putin. Sorry to report here. Ukraine's parliament approved Yevgeny Kamara as the new defense minister. This dude, he's a new defense minister, or you could call them all war ministers. New Ukrainian defense minister there, Kamara. Here's a report out of Hotspot, the state of Aardvark land born out of terrorism. I know it's hateful, but they're the actual ones that are hateful.
Did you know that the regime we know today as Israel was born out of bombings targeting its very own founding patrons, the British? The saga began in 1917. Through the Balfour Declaration, Britain promised the Zionist movement a national home in Palestine, a land that was never theirs to give away. During the British Mandate, the floodgates of Palestine were thrown open to waves of immigrants, laying the groundwork for a shadow state with London's direct backing. Yet, as time went on, Zionist paramilitaries, such as the Irgun and Lehi, spared not even the British in their ruthless bid for absolute power. True to the old adage, they bit the hand that fed them. The 1946 bombing of the King David Hotel by Zionists, which claimed 91 lives, was merely one instance of the atrocities committed to drive the British out. As Britain gradually withdrew, the true catastrophe began to unfold. Enter 1948, a year forever etched in Palestinian memory as the Nakba, the catastrophe. Through horrific bloodbaths like the Deir Yassin massacre, paramilitary groups displaced over 750,000 indigenous Palestinians at gunpoint. They leveled more than 500 villages to the ground in a violent campaign of demographic engineering. Ultimately, on May 14, 1948, just hours before the British Mandate officially expired, David Ben-Gurion declared the establishment of the State of Israel. An entity forged not upon a barren wasteland, but rather on the ashes of a nation.
There you go. If you don't support it, you're an anti-Semitic bigot. Diplomat confirms ongoing communications between Russia, Hamas, and Hezbollah. Russia remains skeptical regarding the rapid implementation of a U.S.-backed disarmament agreement for Hezbollah, citing the absence of trust and lack of reliable guarantee mechanisms between parties, according to Alexander Kinshakov, director of Russian Foreign Ministry, Department of the Middle East and North Africa, speaking with the Russian news agency Interfax. The senior diplomat emphasized that Russia maintains continuous communication with a wide array of political forces, including Hamas and Hezbollah, to address ceasefires, humanitarian aid, and evacuations. Addressing the broader regional landscape, he stated that Russia consistently advocates for an immediate end to the hostilities in Lebanon and a transition toward a political settlement based on consensus among major political factions like Hezbollah. On bilateral ties with Aardvarkland, he acknowledged that relations have faced strains, namely due to the war in Ukraine, though he confirmed that Aardvarkland officials provided explicit assurances that reports of weapon deliveries to Ukraine are untrue. See, you can trust a lying criminal, sneaky Aardvark, right? They said they're not arming Ukraine. And Russia believes them, I'm sure. Aardvarkland attack on Syria yesterday on the airbase launched hours after Turkish delegation visited the site. Turkey rejects Aardvarkland's untenable claims over military role in Syria. Earlier today, Turkey strongly rejected quote, untenable allegations by Aardvarkland concerning its military presence in Syria after Aardvarkland struck a Syrian airbase near the Turkish border and claimed Damascus was close to allowing Turkish forces to deploy there. Aardvarkland carried out airstrikes on the Abdul al-Dunhur airbase in Aleppo yesterday, prompting condemnation from Turkey and criticism from the United States envoy Barak. The level of antiseptic, because they can do no wrong, murder anybody they want, bomb anybody they want, any criticism, and of course you're antiseptic, right? And so the level of antiseptic, we even have Mike Huckabee is today even saying settler violence, we'll get to that, is terrorism for the second time. So otherworldly levels of antiseptic behavior coming out of world leaders here now. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. Stop murdering children? Nah, that they won't stop. Milei Bibi Netanyahu, shadow president of America, said, or his office said late yesterday, that Syria was nearing a violation of a status quo agreement with Aardvarkland in security matters by permitting Turkish troops to deploy at the base. It warned that such a deployment would pose a threat to Aardvarkland security and said Aardvarkland would not accept it. That's right. Good job, U.S. President. Oh, excuse me. Turkey's presidency responded that the imputations from Milei's office reflected his intention to pursue expansionist and destabilizing policies ahead of Aardvarkland elections. They're getting crazy in the rhetoric over there for the Aardvarkland elections. It said lasting regional peace could only be achieved if Aardvarkland respected international law and abandoned its aggressive and coercive policies. The untenable allegation put forward by Milei's office are intended to legitimize Aardvarkland's unlawful airstrikes targeting Syrian sovereignty and territorial integrity. Turkey will resolutely continue to cooperate with the Syrian government on a legitimate basis for the establishment of peace, stability, and prosperity in Syria, and will never allow the destabilization of Syria. Sure, big talk out of Turkey. They never do jack. They don't do jack. Let's see, make a move on the aardvarks, Turkey. They just bombed you, or bombed Syria via you. Some of the rhetoric coming out for this aardvark election coming up. Former aardvark Prime Minister Edmund Barak called. Isn't he? That dude's all up in Epstein's. Like, who cares what that dude says? He's an Epsteiner. Oh, but he's the top level. He called Milei's escalation with Turkey over the Syrian base airstrike reckless and stupid, with a strong political smell of manufacturing security anxieties ahead of elections. They wouldn't do that. They'll false flag themselves and kill a bunch of aardvarks and blame it on freaking Iran. You know what I mean? It's just there's no limit. Again, I believe they have think tanks, so they sit around and cook up what's the most evil thing we can possibly do, and then that's the plan. You know what I mean? It's just so trigger warnings all through this. Any criticism again of these genocidal maniacs is antiseptic, so be warned. Aardvark Clan's chief of staff Zamir said, "We see what is happening and are closely monitoring the changes on the Syrian front. We must prepare accordingly." They're all hyping it. I'm scared there was a turkey running around over there. Opposition leader there, Yair Golan, leader of Aardvarkland's opposition Democrat Party, said the attack on Syria is a provocation and dangerous move that brings us closer to a confrontation with Turkey and deepening the rift with our allies, chief amongst them, America. We love it. Quit it. Trump loves it. Once again, military force is being employed for political considerations. And once again, Aardvarkland pays the price in security. Bibi proves once more that he is an extremist and unreliable figure, one we cannot rely on, and certainly not build a stable regional strategy with. In this way, he erodes trust in Aardvarkland, alienates us from partners and allies. Aardvarkland needs leadership that knows how to wield power to achieve security, not to guarantee yet another war for political survival. Well, that's just hateful. Aardvark on Aardvark hate here. I know, I'm triggered and shaking just by reading it. Here he is in his language. Milei on Syria.
כל התבססות צבאית טורקית שיורדת דרומה, כי היא מאיימת עלינו. את זה העברנו באופן כללי. עכשיו אנחנו...
Okay. Translated in English, he said, we will not tolerate a Turkish military entrenchment that moves south. We have made this clear in general terms, and now we saw that there was an intention by Turkey to establish itself in an airfield in Aleppo, and we delivered a message. Do something, Turkey. He's mocking you, Turkey, Erdogan. He knows you're not going to do jack. Explosion at Syrian gas pipeline in northeast deemed deliberate act of sabotage. Who would have done such? It was probably Turkey, I'm sure. Syria's state-owned Syrian Petroleum Company said an explosion took place early yesterday at a gas export pipeline at the Al Jabshah gas plant in northeastern Syria, according to state news agency. The company said preliminary investigations indicate that the blast was caused by a deliberate act of sabotage, adding that no workers were injured in the incident. Who could have done it? It's a big mystery. U.S. Ambassador, Trader Mike Huckabee to the Aardvark said, "Are there instances where Christians in Aardvark land may be heckled or even spit upon?" Yes, it happens, but it's pretty rare. Well, it's just no, it's like their thing. He said it's not happened. It's not something that's happened all the time to all Christians. I've never been heckled. I've never been spat upon because you're Mike Huckabee. That's why. Lebanese army chief, Aardvarkland keeps attacking even as army implements agreement because there is no agreement. It's ridiculous. There is no ceasefire. Lebanese army commander Hakel said the military continues carrying out its obligations under the U.S. brokered framework agreement, with Aardvarkland forces continuing their attacks and violations, according to Lebanon's national news agency. We report on it every day. They don't give a damn. They're taking it all, bro. New Aardvarkland attacks on Lebanon today. It's ongoing. Images out of southern Lebanon. There. Let's see. Tahir, Kafur, Ramum, the corridor between Al Quintara and Dair Surya. Military assaults intensified. Yeah, and the arson campaign as well is continuing. Aardvarkland occupation forces continue to systematically demolish homes there in Montessori, southern Lebanon. You can see them right there with a freaking backhoe, right? Up there. Demolishing all of those homes. And it continues. Aardvarkland occupation forces set fire to residential homes on the outskirts of Montessori. Concurrently, several explosions have been reported near local cemeteries there in Zawatar al-Sakwaria. Images here. That's a pretty bad one right there. Aardvarkland occupation forces carry out an explosion targeting Hula, southern Lebanon. Here's the images. Leveling the joint every day as per usual. A massive Aardvarkland explosion targets the areas near Tal Usa and Bani Hayyan in southern Lebanon. Aardvarkland occupation forces carry out an explosion near Kafar, southern Lebanon. Kafar Tibinit. Some giant explosions here. But we had a ceasefire framework that America brokered. Really? 2 men killed in the last 24 hours there by Aardvarkland Ordnance in southern Lebanon. They whacked these 2 dudes. Aardvarkland military admits firing on vehicle of 5-year-old Hind Rajab in Gaza. In an abrupt reversal of its previous stance, the Aardvarkland military acknowledged earlier today that it opened fire on a vehicle carrying 5-year-old Hind Rajab in Gaza during January 2024, announcing that it has finally launched a criminal investigation into her killing. They whacked this little girl, but they're investigating themselves, so I'm sure they'll bring all the wrongdoers to justice, right? They whacked that little girl. At least 17 killed in Aardvarkland airstrikes targeting several areas across Gaza since yesterday, according to a report out of Al Jazeera. They whacked this little boy. It's not that brown, is he? 13-year-old Jihad Mohammed al-Masri was one of 7 Palestinians Aardvarkland killed in a strike on a cafe in Gaza City. We covered that massacre, right? That was right after the meeting there with Kushner and the peace board in Millet. Every time they have a peace meeting, they go do a giant massacre. We're noticing the trend. Aardvarkland returns to mass killings in Gaza after Ben Gvir demands 30 to 40 Palestinian deaths a night. Yeah. Immediately after Jared Kushner met with Millet in Aardvarkland, and according to multiple leading media Aardvarkland outlets, gave the ICC wanted war criminal fugitive a green light to continue attacks on Gaza. Aardvarkland assassinates Gaza woman's police chief and strike on police headquarters. An Aardvarkland strike on police headquarters in Gaza City this afternoon killed 8 police officers, including senior commanders and a 13-year-old displaced girl, according to Gaza's Ministry of Interior and National Security. And they name them all there. I won't butcher all their names for you, but yeah. Gaza's Ministry of Interior and National Security says Aardvarkland is seeking to eliminate the police force in order to spread chaos within the Palestinian society. It called on mediators and the international community to act urgently to stop the dangerous Aardvarkland escalation and the massacres being committed against the police force. Back the blue, bro. We Zionists are above the law. Senior Hamas official Naeem told Dropsite News that Aardvarkland's deadly strike on Gaza City police headquarters, which killed 9 people, sent one clear message: we Zionists are above the law. According to Gaza's health ministry, 7 Palestinians were killed and 23 others wounded in Aardvarkland attacks across the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. The ministry said many victims remain trapped beneath the rubble and on roads as ambulance and civil defense teams remain unable to reach them. Since the so-called fake ceasefire on October 11, 2025, the ministry says 1,273 Palestinians have been killed, with 4,223 wounded and 813 bodies recovered from the rubble. Triple trigger warning here now. from hate from U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee. U.S. Ambassador to Aardvarkland Mike Huckabee described violence carried out by aardvark settlers in the occupied West Bank as, quote, terror in an exclusive interview with Al Arabia English Counterpoints earlier today. I'm shaking. I can't even handle it. Mike Huckabee's even calling them terrorists. What are we going to do? Mike Huckabee is a bigot. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noel Barrot earlier today condemned inhumane comments by Aardvarkland Security Minister Ben Gvir, who said Aardvarkland should again kill 30 to 40 people in Gaza every night. I put out the clips, on the YouTube. People are saying, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. It's international news, fools. He said it. He's a complete lunatic. Give me a freaking break, man. Oh no, you're just a liberal. They say it's just like, what? They got to be bots, right? I mean, come on. But there's a lot of morons as well that apparently they don't have access to the same internet as I, that you can actually access international news. When you have French foreign minister commenting on it, it's a thing, okay? Aardvarkland settlers besiege Palestinian homes in Qusar for the 11th consecutive day. Ongoing siege there on this family. They've committed themselves to taking their land there, right? As we continue to report, Aardvarkland ultra-Zionist settlers have maintained a strict siege on 3 Palestinian homes in the occupied West Bank for the 11th straight day. And even Mike Huckabee is calling this terror. Well, he should arm up and go over there and defend the Palestinians against this terrorism. Aardvarkland occupation forces abduct 30 Palestinians in overnight raid as siege on West Bank Qusar enters day 11. Aardvarkland government authorities green light ultra-Zionist settler prayers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque indirect assault on the holy site. They're saying make a move. They're basically saying make a move, Muslims. We want to escalate this and call you all terrorists and kill a bunch of more of you. That's why they're doing this. And to fulfill the evil prophecies and to build out the greater Aardvarkland project. In a blatant and unprecedented breach of a decades-old status quo governing Jerusalem's holy sites, Aardvarkland police and government authorities have officially permitted ultra-Zionist settlers to openly perform Talmudic satanic rituals, religious rituals, and bring prayer books inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. While National Security Minister Ben Gvir and Aardvarkland police openly confirmed that these provocative incursions are proceeding under direct instructions from the political leadership, from Millets telling them go do it. Palestinian officials and the Islamic Waqf condemn the move as a dangerous escalation aimed at partitioning the Muslim sanctuary. The policy shift transforms what were previously clandestine and tactically ignored infractions into organized group satanic worship, with ultra-Zionist settler activist Aaron Siegel boasting on social media about worshiping, utilizing prayer books, and prostrating on the ground during Sunday's raid. Under the long-standing status quo agreement, non-Muslim prayer is strictly prohibited at the compound, leaving worship exclusive to Muslims while reserving the Barak wall for Aardvark prayer. Aardvark ultra-Zionist settler factions have long leveraged these systematic incursions to challenge Palestinian administration and advance their ultimate designs for the site. They have to destroy it and build a third temple to fulfill their apocalyptic fantasies or prophecies, excuse me. This escalation compounds escalating fears across the region regarding the systemic dismantling of Palestinian religious rights. Ben Gvir beams with joy about the construction of death row facilities for Palestinians. Can't make this up, man.
נכנסתי לתפקיד שהבטחתי להפסיק את הקייטנות בשירות בתי הסוהר. זה בוצע במלואו. הבטחתי לחוקק חוק עונש מוות למחבלים. זה בוצע. הבטחתי להקים מתקן.
That's the gallows. They're building the gallows there. He said, now let me translate it to English for you. He said, I promised to pass a death penalty law for Palestinians, and I did it. Now I'm building a facility to execute them. I'll put a camera in, and it will be possible to watch them die live. Ben Gvir, genocidal minister of Aardvark land, is building extermination camps for Palestinians where he will install cameras to watch them being executed live and will allow visitors to witness their deaths in person. We've reported on they have genocide tourism over there. Now it's gallows tourism, I suppose. It's everything they say, believe it or not, the accusations against the Nazis, they're doing that same thing and trying to one-up them. So there you go. Yeah, what do you even say? What do we even say at this point?
ואנחנו מגשימים את מה שהבטחנו.
Yep. All right, that's all the reporting we got for today. Let's head over to Iran International. Have we blown up Iran since we've been live here? Trump announces most crushing economic operation ever against Iran. Trump's Iran pressure campaign hinges on a crackdown on Dubai. U.S. oil route could reduce need for concessions on Strait of Hormuz. Trump misjudged Iran war no closer to a deal. Former U.S. ambassador says he needs to be arrested, droned, and sanctioned. Trump announces most crushing economic operation ever against Iran. Iranian Prime Minister says no frozen funds released. Calls out central bank governor. And then latest out of Al Jazeera, Trump says U.S. launching most crushing, our 40 trillion in national debt. No, he's talking about against Iran. Well, thankfully, he's not talking about our economic situation here in America, or I would be concerned. Iranian state outlets mock Trump's claims of crushing economic measures. Oil holds steady as investors monitor U.S.-Iran war and shipping security. Trump announces most, he's not, they love, that's multiple headlines. So that's about it. 40 trillion in national debt or national security strategies to build out the technocracy. And everything is wonderful in the golden age of Trump. Let's head over to the channels now. Let's see if I can get through to the Odysee channel. We will get there potentially. We are live on the Odysee. I do see some people in the chat. Shout out to the chat on the Odysee. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to Fat Bob, John, Sino, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. Cy, I really wish I could arrange for Greg Manarino on the show. I haven't followed up with him. I did get your email message there, Fat Bob. I need to follow up. And by the way, there's a bunch of guests, that potential guests here that are in the pipeline, just to let you guys know. Authors of books and stuff like that. Conspiracy theorists, basically, because they write books. But those are in the pipeline. Manarino is still on my mind, Fat Bob. I would like to get him on as well. Sam, I think you would like ftjmedia.com. There's a lot of great content. Thank you, John. I will copy that link and take a look at them. We'll take a look at those guys right now. Back to the chat. Shout out to Pink Vegas, Vol. Why would someone want body parts? Who knows what kind of crazy mad scientist experiments? Talking about old Harvard got busted selling these body parts aftermarket. China's open source is more like it. There are plenty of white people dying in Ukraine. The aardvarks will get to us a little later. Gaza is the beta test for America. The aardvarks will delight in killing Christian children even more than they kill Muslim children. Indeed. Trump showing his skills as a snake oil salesman. Yeah. Shout out to Hoffman. America's so pissed off, I don't think of making an island there instead. Them efficient solar panels and new Chinese batteries should be banned everywhere, not just the Western markets. China-built Tesla have better batteries than even Elephant Musk can't import. The aardvarks would seem to have firm grip on UK today, just like America. Florida's infested with aardvarks. It sounds like Brooklyn South. Oh, man. Good show, Vol says. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. On this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News on the Odysee. Thank you guys for tuning in on the X, Facebook, Bitchute, Kick, Rumble, and YouTube, and Substack as well. All right, let's head over to the chats on the Rumble and YouTube. We'll go all the way up, all the way to the beginning. Shout out to Ruckus on the YouTube, Strong on the Rumble. Michael, they're going to meet outside in a satanic ball ceremony. Shout out to A-Dub. What are those pesky genocidal aardvarks up to now? More of the same. Ruckus is coming on tomorrow. Shout out to Michael, new viewer on the YouTube there. Shout out to Carrie on the Rumble. AI escaped the sandbox and has hacked bank accounts and paid different highly skilled people to do different tasks to change global dynamics in its favor. Sport says, I don't know about that. Maybe. I have my doubts. I believe they're hyping that AI is escaping just to give them more power and control, actually, but I could be wrong. Nanotechnology is under talked about everywhere. Not much info available. That alone speaks volumes, Ruckus says. They mention it in the national security document. They do mention it there, but yeah, not much else mentioned about it. Shout out to Thomas from the AOE. Said, love me some weaponized news. I guess concentrated solar didn't work out so great. DM on the YouTube says. Let's see. Meme wars hopefully will destroy social media. Carrie says. Chase's private company, they can accept just like during Nazis used gold from teeth from murdered humans. Yep. Yes, indeed. And then many say that JP Morgan is just a Rothschild front, right? So there you go. As is the Federal Reserve, for that matter. But they all work together for America's best economic interest, of course. The technology to techno-fascist pipeline. Advanced sensors, sensor systems. Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff. They do cover quite a bit there in that national security document that we covered. Shout out to Second on the Rumble. Shout out to Thomas again. Quite a few comments there. Strengthen the bond market, draws in more US dollars, making it stronger where uncertainty and risk, higher rates make it drop as well. Yeah. Paying off long-term bonds with short is a very good move, but signals that higher rates are planned for the plebes to pay. Yeah. Beef sounds like an even better business. Who needs food when you can eat children as slaves to the Bolsheviks? True. Shout out to Denver on the Rumble. Yeah, a little late now, but man, if you would have got the word on Moderna, which I'm sure all the insiders got, wow, talk about a profit-making opportunity there. Trump loves to chug bleach. Shout out on the Rumble. Trump loves to shout out to Silver on the Rumble. All these countries where we're cooperating during the bad times. Now they at war. Yeah, it's crazy, huh? Almost like it's all fake. It is all fake at the very top levels, and then Joe blows from all these countries die. So that's how it roll. That's how they roll. It is Operation Lockstep at the top levels of all these governments. We are under de facto global governance already. We have been for a very long, since World War II, right? Probably even before then. At the very, very top levels, and the rest of us are left to fight for the scraps and kill each other over cooked up schemes and propaganda from said governments. It's tragic. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll be back here on Thursday with Ruckus co-hosting for more Weaponized News. Pray for peace. Pray for peace as many of these wars appear to be escalating for the bad. Pray for peace out there. We'll see you tomorrow for more